all I can do is look at behavior, because what you do is what you believe, and everything else is just cottage cheese.
Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every single cent you spend, from your morning coffee to your child's education, is being tracked, monitored, and potentially frozen by a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. It sounds like a dystopian nightmare, but Senator John Kennedy just walked into the Senate with the cold, hard receipts to prove the trap is already being set. The elites want you to believe they're just modernizing the system for your convenience, but Kennedy isn't buying the jargon. He just looked them in the eye and exposed the ultimate digital betrayal, a scheme designed to end your financial privacy and control your freedom. Today, the game of shadows is officially over. You are about to witness the most brutal financial takedown in Senate history. Kennedy doesn't just ask questions, he delivers a final warning to the globalists who think they own your future. But before we reveal the evidence that left the room in total silence, smash that subscribe button if you believe Kennedy is the only hero left fighting for your freedom. The trap has been exposed, and Kennedy is about to spring it. Let's get into it.
I believe Senator Kennedy still has a first-round opportunity, and I understand Senators Booker and Ossoff would like a second-round opportunity. Senator Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you again, Senator.
I'm a big fan. Director Peters, you're the director of the Bureau of Prisons, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
You used to run the correction system in Oregon, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Oregon legalized drugs, is that right?
That's correct.
Oregon's about to reverse that, is that correct?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the policy proposed to reverse that.
Oh, you just ignored Oregon?
Oregon still has a very special place in my heart, sir.
Okay. You haven't read any of the articles about the reversal?
I haven't, Senator.
You don't know anything about it?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Wow. You're in charge of implementing the First Step Act, Director?
That's correct.
How many criminals have you released under the First Step Act?
So First Step Act, for the overall release since the initiation of the First Step Act is, I have that exact number in front of me.
You don't know off the top of your head?
Sorry, Senator. So 70% of those that were released, we have about 30,000 individuals that have been released since the passage of the First Step Act.
All right, so you've released 30,000 criminals under the First Step Act. Okay? And how many of them, before you released them, did you contact any of their victims to say we're about to let this guy out?
Senator, it's my understanding that that notification happens through the U.S. Attorney's Office, but I will check into that and get back to you.
You don't know?
Senator, I don't.
Have you followed up with the U.S. attorneys to say, do you have a system to say, hey, we're about to let this guy out? Would we want to be sure the victim's contacted?
As a former victim's advocate, I share that value, that victim notification should happen. I'll check on the process.
But you don't know if it's happening?
That's correct, Senator.
Wow. Okay, of the 30,000 criminals you let free, how many of them have come back, have committed a crime again, hurt somebody else?
So that number is one that we're still looking at as it relates to the recidivism rate for those that were released on the First Step Act.
You don't have any idea?
No, Senator.
You don't have anybody at the Bureau that can count?
I do not have that number in front of me today,
So let me
Senator.
get this straight. The First Step Act was passed in 2018. This is 2024. Am I right so far?
That's correct.
That's 6 years. And in 6 years, you've let 30,000 criminals go, right?
That's correct.
And you don't have the slightest idea how many of them committed another crime and came back.
I don't have that number in front of me today,
And you
sir.
run the Bureau of Prisons.
That's correct.
And how many employees do you have?
About 40,000 employees.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. General, I know you got a lot to do, but could you give us a hand here? And let's find out whether the First Step Act worked. And how many, if we've released 30,000 criminals after 6 years, our director here doesn't know how many have committed another crime and come back? Can you help us?
Senator, I can certainly follow up on that issue. I will just say in terms of work we've done in the past, for example, on compassionate release, and going to the Bureau of Prisons, this is before Director Peters was there, and asking them for data on compassionate release, because that was one of the issues that has come up.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I'm not talking about compassionate release.
No, I understand.
You know,
I'm
my
just saying-
colleagues said, we were told that it would save money and it would be in the interest of public safety to release criminals from prison. I didn't vote for it, but the majority rules. And so Congress did it. And Ms. Peters, Director Peters at the Bureau of Prisons, and her colleagues released 30,000 criminals, all of whom are there for a reason, okay? They didn't just go to prison for a free toaster. They were there for a reason. And so her department let them go, and after 6 years, we don't have the slightest idea. Not a single one of the 40,000 of her employees know how many have committed a second crime and come back. So how the hell are we supposed to figure out whether it worked? Your people ought to hide their head in a bag, Director, that you can't come here in front of this Congress and answer that question. I'm sorry, I interrupted you with my speech.
No, that's okay. I was just going to, my bottom line point on it was I've often looked to those questions on things like compassionate release and other programs. And one of the challenges we found is the department just doesn't have good data on that. Halfway houses. Congress is spending about $500 million a year on halfway houses. There's really not great recidivism data on that either. How well are they working?
Before we do this, we need to find out. Look, I believe in justice. I believe in treating everybody fairly. But there are people out there, I don't know why, if I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. They're not mixed up. They're not confused. They're not sick. It's not that their mama or daddy didn't love them or not enough. They just hurt other people, and they take other people's stuff, and we have to separate them from society. And the director let 30,000 of these folks go and can't tell me today how many have come back. I just find it takes my breath away. With 40,000 people. How many of your 40,000 people are actually coming to work or are still working from home, Director?
The supermajority of our employees come to work every day because we're running 24/7
What percentage are coming to work every day?
The percentage is quite high. I don't have the exact
You
number.
don't know?
But
Well, maybe there's your problem.
the supermajority of our individuals come to work.
If they're not coming to work, they
institutions.
can't give us the answer. I've gone over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is why people hate government and don't trust government.
So I'd like to respond concerning the Grassley-Durbin First Step Act signed into law by President Donald
I thought
Trump.
you might have a response.
By President Donald Trump. I almost want to repeat that because this notion that it's soft on crime, I don't consider Chuck Grassley soft on crime. I don't consider Donald Trump soft on crime. Let me tell you the numbers that we have. Some 30,000 released. The recidivism rate for people released under the First Step Act is 12.4%. 7 out of every 8 individuals released under the law have not been rearrested or charged with a new crime. By comparison, DOJ estimates that in the decade before the First Step Act was passed, 43% of the people formerly incarcerated in BOP were rearrested within 3 years of their release. Is the First Step Act working? I would submit it is.
Would you yield for a question, Mr. Chair?
When I finish.
I'm sorry. Excuse me for interrupting.
The point I'm making is we decided with the Trump administration and Senator Grassley's leadership that we were going to take a different approach to releasing people from prison. We would give them an opportunity to be trained, educated, skilled, in many ways more prepared for release, because 80%, I believe, in the system are going to be released someday. We don't want to commit another crime or create another victim. I would submit this is a success. Don't put your head in a bag, or whatever Senator suggested. Stand up tall and try to make it better, and I'm ready to do that. But the First Step Act was a constructive reform of the penal system, And I think it was a good idea and stand by it. I'll submit to your question.
Thank you. And I appreciate, as usual, Dick, you made good points. Here's my point. I didn't vote for the First Step Act because I was afraid this was going to happen. And what I hear you saying is that of the 30,000 that the director released, over 3,000 committed another crime in her back. Here's my question. How come you know that and she doesn't?
Because she's probably looking
And the
for
40,000 people at the Bureau of Prisons who are supposed to give us this information don't know.
Well, I'd like to say in all fairness, she's under oath, and I think when you ask for numbers, she wants to make sure she tells you a number she can live with. I have this information. I think it's probably close to being 100% accurate, but I wouldn't say under oath it is. So I think give her a fair opportunity to respond. I mean, it just might not be the type of thing that comes rolling
you're
off
not
the tongue.
it's not your job, and I appreciate the information, and I'd like to see the study that shows that. I just don't understand why the director has no idea.
Well,
She didn't say she was uncertain, and she wanted to go back and check. She said, I don't know. And I just find that extraordinary.
I'm assuming since she's under oath, it's an honest answer. We have two other individuals who are seeking a second round. I believe Senator Booker is first.
I hate to distract from my questions, but I just want.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Interesting questions. Mr. Maxwell, you're a farmer, is that right?
Yes, Senator.
Excuse me. You used to be a farmer, or you still are?
Yes, Senator, I grew up on a farm. I'm fourth generation Missouri farmer. My brother does most of the farming. I do this activity more. I do have degrees in ag economics and a law degree, but I still actively farm. I've got over 100 ewes on the farm. We have hogs production. We're kind of the diversified, traditional family farm type operation, lease out some of the land to the neighbor boy.
Yeah, well, America was born on a farm, so thank you for that.
And thank you, Senator.
Dr. Owens, you talked about in order to commit a crime, you have to have means, motive, and opportunity. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you have suggested that it's not an optimal situation to have, well, strike that. Let me just get after it here. What crime are you accusing the four major food companies of?
Price gouging, sir.
Okay. You think they're price fixing?
In some cases, absolutely.
Okay. Name the four companies that you are accusing of price fixing.
In the grocery sector or more broadly?
The four you've been talking about.
I mean, so I think...
Name me every company that you think is price fixing in violation of the antitrust laws.
Yeah, I mean, so the most recent example that I think is worth considering is Agristats.
Yes, ma'am, but if you don't mind, we'll come back and do the examples. Name me the companies that you're accusing of price fixing.
Well, the first one is Agristats, which the Department of Justice has sued for price fixing.
Who else?
In the grocery sector, we've got Walmart, we've got Kroger.
Walmart is price fixing.
No, I haven't accused them of price fixing. What I've said is that they're able to expand
All
their
right,
markup.
let me start over here. I want you price fixing is a serious crime, Doc. You can go to jail for that. And I want to be sure I understand your testimony. Who are you accusing of price fixing?
Yeah, look, what my testimony clearly states
No,
is that...
tell me which companies you're accusing of price fixing. You said some were price fixing, and I want to know which ones.
Yeah, I mean, look...
I may report them myself.
The company that's absolutely under investigation by the DOJ
Which ones are price fixing?
I think the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice should take a close look at the four major grocers. They should take a close look at the four major meat packers.
There are currently
my question. There's pending litigation.
Which companies are price fixing?
Tyson is a great example. Tyson, the large meat packer.
Okay, who else?
The big four meat packers are all
Who else?
currently
That's one.
under.
Who else?
Like I said, I think looking at the four major grocers makes sense in this setting.
Which four are price fixing?
Walmart, Albertsons,
Walmart's price
Kroger.
fixing. Wait,
I didn't say they were. I said taking a look.
You just said they were. You can't come here and say and imply they're price fixing and then say they're price fixing. That's a serious allegation. You can be sued for defamation.
I said we should take a close look
Now,
at the
let
companies
me go back.
who are-
I want to be sure I understand your testimony. Are you telling me right here today that you're accusing Walmart of price fixing?
I'm not personally accusing Walmart of price fixing. I am suggesting
Who are
that
you accusing of price fixing? That's a serious charge.
neither my written testimony nor my oral testimony makes explicit legal claims.
So you're not accusing anybody of price fixing.
No, I have pointed out that the Department of Justice is currently looking
Who
at
are
price
you
fixing
accusing
by
of price
agri-stats.
fixing? Why won't you answer my question? Who are you accusing of price fixing?
I'm pretty sure I have answered your question.
No, you
Senator.
haven't. Just tell me the names of the companies, one by one. What's the first company that you're accusing of price fixing?
I've mentioned AgriStats is currently
Agra
investigating-
what?
AgriStats.
All right, who's number two?
I said Tyson's is currently under
Tyson's
investigation for
is price fixing.
Yeah.
Who's number three?
I've also said that I think the Department of Justice and the FTC should take a close look at
Who's
the
number three?
major grocery
Who's number
retailers.
three? Is Walmart price fixing?
I think that they should take a look at the
Is
extent to
Walmart
which-
price fixing?
They should take a look at it.
Is Walmart price fixing?
I can't currently answer that question. I said that the
You
Department
won't
of
answer that
Justice-
question.
No, I
How
said
about
that
Albertsons? Is Albertsons price fixing?
the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission
Is Albertsons price fixing?
should take a close look at that.
Is Albertsons price fixing?
Again, I think the Department of Justice should take a close look.
You don't want to say.
No,
Now,
I mean, look, I'm not at the FTC. I'm not at the DOJ.
yes,
It's
ma'am,
not-
but you've
it's my
accused
job
these
to
companies of breaking the law, and I think that you ought to have the courage to say in front of God and country what you believe. Now, you either do or you don't.
Look, I believe that when companies get larger and larger,
I understand
and
what
larger,
you believe,
it
but I
becomes
understand
easier and
you're waffling.
easier
You're
and
waffling
easier to
like a
coordinate.
bank catfish, okay?
It's easy to coordinate price hikes
Dr.
when you're
Antoni,
large and there are
Dr.
fewer
Antoni,
companies.
I think it's been well established that if we discovered life on Mars tomorrow, Joe Biden would send it money. To what extent has his deficit spending contributed to inflation? And do you know of any of these companies? Would you care to accuse someone of a crime here today? And if anybody else would, just let me know. If somebody is price fixing, I want to know. I'll report them myself. And I'm going to want to see your evidence. Otherwise, you subject yourself to defamation. But let me go back to my original question. What was it, Mars? Was it Mars or Jupiter? I forgot. Is the amount of money that President Biden has insisted on spending contributed to inflation? Duh. What's your answer to that?
Well, Senator, regarding the price fixing, I have no evidence because there is no evidence of that, so I can't provide that to you. But to answer the hypothetical on Mars, absolutely that would add to inflation. And yes, the deficit spending under this president, but really under any president, it doesn't matter that it's Joe Biden in particular in the White House doing it. Any person who did, if any person did what he did, it would have the exact same effect, which is this massive run up in prices. Because again, it's not that things are more valuable, it's that the dollar is worth less. So it takes more dollars to buy exactly what you used to. And if you look at, again, the Biden administration's own data, these aren't my figures, these are figures from the Biden administration. They show that prices paid by businesses and prices paid by consumers have gone up almost exactly the same, about 19% during his tenure. And so this idea that somehow the prices that consumers, that that all of the people that you represent are paying are somehow the cause of anything other than costs simply being passed on to them, the data simply don't support that.
Okay. How about you, Doc?
Excuse me. No evidence. No, I'm not accusing anyone of price fixing.
Are you a lawyer by chance?
I'm sorry?
Are you a lawyer by chance?
Oh, no, I'm not. Just an economist.
Okay. What happens if you accuse somebody of price fixing and they didn't do it?
I probably don't want to be that person.
You got good insurance?
Yeah. No, I'm not. Not doing that.
Okay. Go ahead.
As far as the fiscal stimulus stuff, that's a standard economic model. And you can go back and look, multiple people, Olivier Blanchard is one, some of the upper bound estimates on how big the shortfall in demand was after COVID and the shutdowns. So like one of the largest upper bound estimates that I've seen is about $680 billion, just the COVID package of 1.9 trillion. That's already almost 3 times the size of that. So that's
You want to go now?
Sure.
All right.
Let the record reflect that the senator from Louisiana is far more loquacious than the Baptist preacher.
And that's a high standard.
That's
Senator
my friend.
Warnock.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Mr. Vought, welcome.
Thank you, Senator.
In my judgment, I do not know a single person in Washington or outside Washington who knows more about the federal budget than you do. I used to read your suggestions during President Trump's first term, many of which Congress ignored. We shouldn't have. I am delighted that the president picked you. I have read that since 2019, the population of America has increased 2%, and our spending has increased 55%. Under President Biden, I wish him well. If we had discovered life on Mars, he would have sent it money. Is that sustainable?
Senator, it's totally unsustainable. And the problem is that you go on these trajectories that we are currently on, and you don't know when you're going to get to the point of which you have some major problems as an economy and as a country. And we know that historically.
I hope you'll start with the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot. When we sent out stimulus checks to save our economy, $1.6 billion went to dead people. And the checks were cashed, obviously fraud. OMB has estimated that in fiscal year 2023, we sent out $1.3 billion of checks to dead people, which were cashed, obviously fraud. When you die in America, your name is sent to the Social Security Administration. As you know, you become part of the master death file. Senator Carper and I discovered that Social Security would not share that information with any other department of government. So we passed a bill saying you have to share it with Treasury and other people who write checks, so we'll stop paying dead people. Duh. We got pushback, believe it or not, on the bill. We had to agree to a trial period, and that trial period ends in 2026. Will you help us make that program permanent so we can stop paying dead people?
Yes, Senator.
Now, you served in Washington for years. You're going to be challenging the status quo. You're going to be called crazy. Many people also called Noah crazy. And then the rains came. And all the fact checkers died. You have to persevere. Now, I'm not asking you to get ahead of President Trump. But if you were king for a day, tell me how you would save money in the federal budget without impacting the American people.
Thank you, Senator. I think it's the strategy that we had in the first term, which is to go really and take a very close look at the agencies that are spending and wasting money and I believe weaponized at times against the American people. When they put a 77-year-old Navy veteran in jail, Joe Robertson, for 18 months for building 4 ponds on his ranch to be prepared for wildfires, that's the EPA. I think we have to look at that, and we have to look at the agencies that Congress has a vote on every single year through the appropriations process. And then I think we need to go after the mandatory programs that Senator Cornyn mentioned that are keeping people out of the workforce because they have become not just a social safety net, but they have become a benefit hammock, and increasingly so in the aftermath of COVID, as many of these policies were impacting people's decisions to go back into the workforce. And I believe, and because we produced budgets along these lines, you can get sizable levels of savings and reforms that can lead to a balanced budget and get us back headed in a fiscal trajectory, not only that we would all be proud of, but we could say, this is going to keep us from fiscal ruin.
My time's expired. Ella Porter, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay. Now's your shot. Thank you, Mr. Vought, for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good call there, young lady.
Threatened into. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Senator Grassley.
Thank you for taking 2 of my questions.
You're welcome. I'll send you a bill.
Ms. Campbell, according to the AVVO, I don't know whether that's pronounced, I have a profile. It appears that you served as legal counsel to a group named Workers' Dignity. This group has taken a number of radical leftist positions. For example, Workers' Dignity has advocated for abolition of what they call oppressive systems like police and the military. Do you agree with this position? Do you support the abolition of police and military?
Senator, respectfully, I have never represented that organization, and I do not agree with that position.
Well, then I'm sorry that our research wasn't as accurate as it ought to be. I'll yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Campbell, you lied to Senator Grassley, didn't you?
No, Senator.
You told Senator Grassley that you've never represented Workers' Dignity, didn't you?
That is correct, Senator.
That's not true, is it?
Senator, I have never represented that organization.
Yes, ma'am. That's not true, is it?
Senator, it is true. I served for a period of 2 or 3 years, more than a decade ago, on an advisory board to help them set up as a nonprofit.
In fact, you were so supportive of Workers' Dignity that not only did you represent them, you didn't charge them a fee. Isn't that correct?
Senator, when I was on their advisory board more than a decade ago, I did volunteer my time.
Right. You know what this is? Do you recognize that picture?
No, Senator.
This is from Workers' Dignity's website. There you are, right here. It's got your name. Wow. Judge Lopez, you
take a 30-minute recess at the conclusion of Senator Kennedy's questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say for the record that Chairman Grassley is the greatest chairman God ever put breath in. And would somebody please tell Grassley I said that? You've made a lot of people mad, haven't you, Mr. Patel?
Seems so, Senator.
You think maybe you've made the right people mad?
As my FBI agents, the BRIC agents told me when I was running cases with them across this country and around the world, if you're not ticking off some people, you're not doing your job right.
My colleague and friend Senator Durbin called you a conspiracy theorist. You remember that?
I do, Senator.
You were instrumental in revealing that the Trump-Russia election collusion hoax was a hoax, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I was a lead investigator.
Sounds to me like we need to get some new conspiracy theories because all the old ones turned out to be true.
Facts matter, Senator.
Yeah. I mean, conspiracy theorists are up something like 37-0. You're not saying that everybody at the FBI is bad, are you?
Never said that. I've overwhelmingly said multiple times that 98% of the FBI is courageous, apolitical warriors of justice. They just need better leadership, especially those who participated in these conspiracies that actually turned out to degrade them.
Who put away the Unabomber?
The FBI.
Yep. Who put away Timothy McVeigh and his Stalin's stomach for blood?
BRIC agents at the FBI.
Who helped investigate Jussie Smollett, who, in an effort of self-aggrandizement, set back the fight for minority rights for years?
I think that was local authorities.
It was the FBI that opened an investigation, wasn't it?
Eventually, yes, Senator.
There have been or were some bad people at the FBI and the Justice Department, which work hand in glove, weren't there?
Unfortunately, yes, Senator.
Secretary Clinton's lawyer, a gentleman by the name of Michael Sussman, had a pass to come and go at the FBI building as he wished. Don't you think the American people have a right to know about the details of that?
Not just that, but what a political party was doing with the secure compartmented information facility with direct access to the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Mr. Hunter Biden cheated on his income taxes. Didn't pay $1.4 million in income taxes over 4 years. And he filed fraudulent returns. He tried to deduct his hookers as a business expense, for God's sakes. And they hit him with 2 misdemeanors before there was a public outcry. Don't you think the American people are entitled to know the details of that?
The American people are entitled to a singular form of justice and the details to every public corruption investigation.
You remember Peter Strzok?
I sure do.
One of the lead investigators for Mr. Mueller's Russian collusion hoax?
Yes, Senator.
Do you remember when the Inspector General, not his colleagues, turned him in? Inspector General found that Mr. Peter Strzok said, quote, sent an email to his girlfriend, quote, just went to a Southern Virginia Walmart. I could smell the Trump support, end quote. Remember that?
He did that while employed at the FBI while working on that investigation.
Do you remember when the IG revealed another email by Mr. Strzok to his girlfriend? Mr. Strzok said, quote, I am riled up. Trump is a fucking idiot, is unable to provide a coherent answer, end of quote. You remember that?
Peter Strzok said that.
You remember when his girlfriend texted Mr. Strzok, quote, Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right? And Mr. Strzok replied, no, he won't. We'll stop it.
I do remember their insurance policy.
And then Mr. Strzok testified in front of God and country that never had his political beliefs impacted his work? You believe in the tooth fairy?
When I was a kid.
You believe Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes?
He's also not in the end zone of Giant Stadium.
And then Mr. Strzok got fired, and next thing we know, the FBI and the Department of Justice, after he sued, gave him $1.2 million. Don't you think the American people are entitled to know the details of that?
Absolutely.
Now, I want you to think hard before you answer my next question. Do you believe in the adage that two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make it even?
Senator, I think if anyone commits a wrong in government service, the American public deserve to know the absolute secular detail of that corrupt activity.
When reforming the FBI and the Justice Department, two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make it even, is the wrong approach, isn't it?
That's correct.
And we're going to hold you accountable for that.
I hope you do.
Now, there's some good people at the FBI.
Lots.
And there have been and may still be some bad people there. And you've got to find out who the bad people are and get rid of them in accordance with due process and the rule of law. And then you've got to lift up the good people. Don't go over there and burn that place down. Go over there and make it better. Do you commit to us today that you will do that?
I commit to you, if confirmed, Senator, every single day, 24/7, 365, the FBI will be the premier law enforcement agency in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll now recess.
The senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, I want to talk for a few minutes about money. Money, money, money. People's money. Like you, Mr. President, I've learned a few things in life. I want to mention two. Number one, money does not buy happiness. Number two, poverty does not buy a damn thing. And that's the theme of my few minutes as I talk today. This is about people's money, and it has to do with unredeemed, uncashed savings bonds. Now, Mr. President, you know what I mean when I talk about a bond. Usually when we're talking on the Senate floor, we're talking about Treasury bonds, or Treasury bills, or Treasury notes. I want to talk about a different kind of bond today. Same principle, but a different animal. It's called a savings bond. Savings bonds used to be very, very popular in America, particularly last century, particularly during World War II. They're less popular today because there's so many other ways to earn interest on your money. Though many people still believe in savings bonds, I do. It's a great way to invest your money. What am I talking about when I say a savings bond as opposed to a Treasury bond? Well, let's take the example of one particular savings bond. It's called a double E U.S. savings bond. A savings bond is just a loan to the federal government. Let's suppose I have $1,000 and I want to loan it to the federal government because the federal government will pay me interest. I can go to the federal government and say, I'm going to loan you $1,000. And the federal government would say, thank you very much. Here's your double E U.S. savings bond. And this is how it would work. The federal government would guarantee me that after 20 years, my $1,000 would double. So I would hand them meaning the government, $1,000, and 20 years from now, I would get back $2,000. And if I didn't really need my money after 20 years, I could let the government keep it, loan it to the government, if you will, for another 10 years. And they would continue paying me interest. Now, there are two things you need to note about what I just talked about, this EE savings bonds. So, number one, unlike a regular corporate bond, when I loan that $1,000 to the federal government and get back a EE U.S. savings bond, I don't get periodic interest payments. The interest accrues and it compounds. But when I give the government $1,000, I don't get quarterly interest payments, but at the end of the 20 years, I get back $2,000. Roughly in today's market, I'm making about 2.7% a year. But it's very, very safe. If you believe in the sovereignty of the federal government, our federal government being part of the wealthiest country in all of human history, then it's a pretty safe investment. The other thing you need to note about this savings bond, in addition to the fact that they don't pay me periodic interest, I get all my interest when I get my principal back at the end of 20 years, is that at some point, in the example I just gave, after 30 years, the federal government stops paying me interest. Interest stops accruing. So if I give the federal government, loan the federal government $1,000, and after 20 years, interest is accrued. If I want to, I can redeem my savings bond, and they'll give me $2,000. Maybe I say, okay, I'll re-up another 10 years and continue to earn interest. But 30 years is the limit. After 30 years, if I don't redeem my bond, I'm loaning money to the federal government interest-free. And that would be a dumb thing to do. But not everybody redeems their bonds. A lot of people don't. More people than you would imagine. Life comes at us pretty fast. You know, you buy a savings bond, or maybe your grandparents or your parents buy you a bond when you're young, and you grow up and you get married and you have kids and you get a job, and then you change jobs and you move around the country. A lot of people forget those savings bonds. They still own the savings bonds, but they just forget to redeem them. And so the government just has an interest-free loan. Here's what I'm driving at. Right now, over in the United States Department of Treasury, there are 100 million unredeemed savings bonds. Money that belongs to the American people. And it's no longer earning interest. 100 million savings bonds. There are only 340 million people in America. So it's a little less than a third of the people in America, though I realize some may be deceased, who have one of these savings bonds where the federal government owes them money, but the money's just sitting there and the federal government's using it and they're not paying people interest. The total amount of these unredeemed savings bonds, $36.27 billion. And that $36 billion has been there a long, long time because people have either died or they've forgotten that they have these unredeemed savings bonds. Now, this is very uncool. And a few years ago, back in 2023, I introduced a bill which actually passed. I got it passed. That said to the federal government, specifically the United States Department of Treasury, you've got to give this money back. You've got the names of people on these bonds. In many cases, you have the addresses. In a lot of cases, you have the serial numbers. Why are you just sitting on this $36 billion, these 100 million bonds? Why don't you contact people and give them their money? And they said, Kennedy, you don't understand. First of all, they said our records are a mess. Some of these bonds go back, I don't know, 75 years before there were computers. The Treasury Department said to me, the records are not digitized. We'd have to comb through boxes and boxes and boxes to get names and addresses, and it's just a lot of trouble. And I said, well, I feel your pain, but you still ought to return the money to people. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce a bill, and I did, and I passed it, that says the federal government has got to return this money to the people to whom it is owed. And in that bill, I provided money for the U.S. Department of Treasury to digitize those records, to go out and hire a consultant to go through all the records and put them in a database so they can be easily searched. And the U.S. Department of Treasury has done that. And I want to thank them. Hadn't been the easiest thing I've ever done. I worked with Secretary Mnuchin first, and then Secretary Yellen, and now Secretary Bessent, and all of the good women and men who work for them, but we finally gotten it done. And here's what we're ready to do. We are ready to turn the names and addresses and serial numbers over to the treasurer of every state, in Louisiana and West Virginia and every other state. We're going to give them the names and addresses and serial numbers so they can contact people in their state and say, the federal government has your money and we want to get it back to you. Why are we doing it that way through the states instead of just telling the U.S. Department of Treasury to start calling people up? Well, because the states are very experienced. Every state has what's called an unclaimed property program. What's an unclaimed property program? Well, every state has a law that says if a business, usually it's a business, not always, but if a business has your money and it can't find you, that business can't keep it. At the end of a certain period of time, usually 3 to 4 years, that business has got to turn that money over to the state. It's called unclaimed property. And the state's got to help give it back to people. What am I talking about? Let's say a utility deposit. Happens all the time. People move into an apartment. They post a utility deposit with the electricity company. They move. They forget to get their deposit back. Apartment deposit works the same way. Tax refunds. Stocks. Maybe you own a stock and it's being held by your brokerage company and you move and you don't leave a forwarding address or the forwarding address expires. That security company that brokerage can't just keep that stock. That brokerage turns that stock over to the state treasurer of every state, and it's their job to return it to people. And let me tell you something. The states do a marvelous job. You can go to any single state right now, just Google it, and find the state's unclaimed property program. And you can go spend a few minutes. You can put in your name. You can put in your parents' name. You can put in your friend's name. You can put in the name of the town in which you were raised and find people who are owed unclaimed property. And the treasurers do a great job of getting it back. They not only have websites, but they advertise and toll-free numbers, and they just do a wonderful job of getting money back to people. When I was state treasurer in Louisiana, I was in charge of Louisiana's unclaimed property program. And I was there for 17 years. I think I returned $400, $500 million to the people in Louisiana. I had a whole unclaimed property section men and women who would contact people all day long. And we had a very sophisticated database. So that's why the U.S. Department of Treasury, under my legislation, is not going to give this money back itself. It's going to return or give the information to the treasurer of every state, and the treasurer of every state is going to be in charge of contacting people. We've gone through this. We've been working on it. I passed the bill in 2023, I think, but we worked on it for 2 years prior to that. But we're almost home. What now we have to do is get the state treasurers to sign an agreement with the U.S. Department of Treasury. All the state treasurers have to do is sign an agreement with the U.S. Department of Treasury to cooperate, and Treasury will send them the names, and we can start returning this money to people. And I'm going to be sending another letter out in short order to all of the state treasurers, asking them to go ahead and sign that user agreement with the Treasury Department, so we can start getting this money back to people. It's free money. And remember, there are 100 million bonds, 340 million people in America, $36 billion that is owed to the American people that the federal government has just been sitting on, that hasn't been returned. And now we're going to start doing it. If I can just get our state treasurers to turn in these user agreements, some of them have, but others have not yet. You may not get a check for Christmas, but you'll get, if you hurry up, you can get a check in January or October or February, so you can pay some bills. The second thing I want to talk about, Mr. President, I just want to give an attaboy to a young man. He's not young anymore. That I grew up with. His name is Professor Willis Deloney. I grew up with him in Zachary, Louisiana. Professor Deloney is a remarkable talent. God has blessed him with so much talent. He's the Boyd Professor of Piano and Jazz Studies in the School of Music at LSU. He's been there since 2000, 24 years. Before that, he taught at Southeastern Louisiana University and at Delta State University. Professor Deloney, he has earned worldwide acclaim. He is one of America's leading, if not America's leading, classical jazz crossover artists. Willis has also appeared, in addition to his teaching, Willis has appeared as a soloist, a guest pianist, an arranger, a conductor with orchestras throughout the United States, Canada, China, the former Soviet Union, all over the world. An immensely talented man. And Professor Deloney, my friend of many years, as I said, I grew up with him. He was just named to the Steinway and Sons Music Teacher Hall of Fame. That's a big deal. It's a big, big deal. And I wanted to spend a few minutes, Mr. President, calling out one of Louisiana's best and brightest, Professor Willis Deloney, who grew up in little old Zachary, Louisiana, for his remarkable achievement. With that, Mr. President, I conclude my remarks, and I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah, and I thank you for your time and attention. My work here is done, Mr. President. I was going to suggest the absence of a quorum, Mr. President, but I see the parliamentarian over there wants me to call on my good friend, the senator from Vermont. And so I yield my time to the esteemed, legendary senator from Vermont, who is what cool looks like. Senator Peter Welch.
Mr. President.
The senator.
Senator Kennedy from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, the Biden administration has operated as Iran's best friend, hasn't it?
No, I disagree completely, Senator.
Well, Iran sold Iraq $10 billion, not million, $10 billion worth of electricity, but Iraq couldn't pay them because of our sanctions against Iran. The Biden administration waived those sanctions, didn't it?
Senator,
so that Iran could get $10 billion. Isn't that a fact?
No, Senator. Those waivers started under the Trump administration. That money is still in Iraq. That money has never been to Tehran. It will never go to Tehran.
The first waiver was on July 2023, wasn't it?
Senator, I believe those waivers started in 2018.
The first waiver that the Biden administration did was July of 2023, wasn't it?
So, Senator, again, I believe the waiver program started in.
You didn't issue a waiver on July of 2023.
Senator, the waivers were continued into 2023.
And you issued another waiver to get the money to Iran in November of 2023, didn't you?
Senator, as I said, that money has never been, will never go to Iran. The money is still in Iraq. The money may be used for humanitarian purposes, but not a dollar of that money.
And you issued another waiver on March of 2024, not too long ago. That was 6 weeks after Iran killed 3 American soldiers.
Senator,
you gave Iraq permission to give Iran $10 billion, didn't you?
No, Senator. As I mentioned, this was something that started in 2018 under the Trump administration. It allowed Iraq to purchase electricity and to store that money in Iraq. None of that money to date will ever go to Iran. The money is being held for humanitarian purposes.
You're not telling the truth, Mr. Secretary. No disrespect, but that's just not true. Senator Menendez and Senator Scott made the point. We all know, unless you peaked in high school, you know that money is fungible. The Biden administration also paid Iran $6 billion to release 5 of our prisoners, didn't it?
Senator, again, that money is in Qatar. None of that money has been used. It hasn't been moved. And as I said earlier, while money is fungible in the United States because we care about our people, it's not fungible for the Iranian.
So the money's in Qatar, in a bank in Qatar?
Yes.
Now, what do you think? Who controls that bank in Qatar?
Those banks are controlled by those individuals who run that financial institution.
I see. So if President Biden says Qatar Bank, don't give this money to Iran, and the Qatar government says give the money to Iran, who do you think the Qatar Bank's going to listen to, Mr. Secretary?
So, Senator, those banks in Qatar value greatly their ability to have a relationship with the United States because that's how they make money.
Do you believe in the tooth fairy?
Ultimately, if we cut off those banks, they will no longer be able to make money.
Do you believe in the Easter Bunny?
So, Senator, while I understand your point, fundamentally, none of that money has gone to Iran, and that money is not going to go directly to Iran.
Now, you did the same thing with Maduro, you meaning the Biden administration. You guys did the same thing with Maduro in Venezuela. You removed all the sanctions on oil and mining, including gold, with Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, didn't you?
So GL 44 and 43 were put in place in Venezuela. 43 has already.
Is that a yes?
GL 43 has been removed.
Yeah, so you said, okay, Maduro, we're going to remove Maduro, best friends with Iran and Cuba and China and Russia. The Biden administration removed the sanctions on oil and mining in Venezuela.
Senator.
And Maduro said, I promise you that I'll hold a free and fair election. And then he put all his opponents in jail. And the Biden administration has done nothing, hasn't it, except stand there sucking on its teeth.
So, Senator, I want to say again, we provided general licenses. We did not remove the sanctions. The reason we did that was because we did not trust. So what we can do
The
with those
sanctions on Maduro's oil are not there, are they?
General License 44, which gives permission for the sale of oil, expires on April 17th, which will then put those sanctions back in place. We did not remove the sanctions.
The problem you folks have is that you want to quote Socrates in the middle of a bar fight. Iran is not our friend. Venezuela is not our friend. President Biden keeps giving them money to buy weapons to try to kill us.
Senator,
do you not understand that?
Sanctions on the Iranian regime. We have not allowed a dollar from Qatar or from the Iraqi electricity fund to flow to Iran.
That's just not true. Senator Menendez explained that to you.
The money.
How can you be that obtuse?
Senator, as I've said, our goal is to make sure that we take every action to prevent Iran's destabilizing activity in the region. We're going to continue to go after Iran's sale of oil and try and limit their ability as best we can using the tools that you've given us. I'm here before the Senate asking for additional tools that will allow us to continue to do that.
You don't use the ones you have.
Okay, you saw Senator Kennedy made your point. Senator Warner from Virginia is recognized.
As the silence settles in the chamber, the weight of Kennedy's words begins to sink in. We have watched him tear down the excuses and expose the chilling truth that they tried so desperately to hide behind complex economic terms. This wasn't just about a digital currency or a banking policy. It was about the very soul of American liberty. When you treat the hard-earned money of the people like a tool for surveillance, you aren't just a bureaucrat anymore. You're a threat to the foundation of this republic. And today, Kennedy was the shield that stood between you and that threat. When Kennedy looked them in the eye and said, "It's finally over," he was sending a message to every power-hungry official in D.C. You cannot manage the American people into submission. The stutters, the panicked whispers, and the desperate glances we saw on camera today are proof that they know they've been caught red-handed. Washington is hoping you'll look away, hoping you'll get distracted by the next headline. But after what we've witnessed, that is no longer an option. They are counting on your silence to complete their trap, but they didn't count on a man from Louisiana with enough common sense to blow the whole thing wide open. This community is the last line of defense against this digital betrayal. We want to hear from you right now. Do you trust the government with total control over your bank account, or do you believe it's time to stand up and say, no more? Drop a comment below with the word trap if you want the truth to keep coming. We read every single comment, and your voice is the only thing they can't manage, buy, or silence. If you're ready to stand with Kennedy and protect our freedom, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know before the algorithms try to suppress it. The trap has been exposed, but the fight for our future has just begun. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.